Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today I've got an old Craftsman lawnmower with a coughing issue. Now this is an old mower that's been in my family for several years now. I believe these came out in about 2000s. It's got a 15.5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton engine in it, and we're going to put a Hipa carburetor on it. Now if you don't know about Hipa parts, you need to check them out. This is the Hipa channel, but you need to check them out. So let's see how easy it is to do an install of a Hipa carburetor kit on an old Craftsman.
So the first thing we need to do on this machine is take the top cover and air box off. There's two Torx 20 bolts on the front and two 3/8 bolts on the back. You don't need to take these all the way out, just back them out a little bit, and then the top cover pop free. Now we can access the throttle linkage on top of the carbs. Pull the throttle forward a little bit. That'll allow you to get the rod and the spring out. Between the carburetor and the engine, there's a breather hose that needs to be disconnected. We can now take off the plastic intake duct. There's two 3/8 nuts, one on each side. Just take those all the way off and pull the intake off. Next, we can pull the fuel line off. If you don't have a fuel tap or petcock to turn the flow of gasoline off, you will need to use a pair of vice grips or some other device to pinch off the rubber hose. We can then use a 5/16 or 8mm wrench to remove the long studs that hold the carburetor body to the engine intake. At this point, you'll also want to disconnect the wiring harness of the anti-backfire device underneath the carburetor. Now we can finish pulling the carburetor off. Pay attention to the choke linkage here. It comes out as a unit, but you want to make sure when you reinstall it, you orient it the same way and put it in the same hole in the choke lever. Remove your gasket if it's still attached, and at this point I like to do a little bit of cleanup just to get the dust off the mating surfaces and elsewhere around the intake. Now we're ready for the new carburetor. Reuse your old studs and put the new gasket on. No sealant is necessary. Put your choke linkage back in the same hole in the choke lever and insert it in the slot that it came out of before you made up the carburetor. We can then insert and tighten up our studs. And then reinstall the intake duct that goes from the carburetor to the airbox. And also don't forget to put on that breather that's on the back. Your kit may also come with a new fuel line and a new fuel filter. The fuel filter should be installed with the fatter end on the side of the carburetor and the smaller end pointing back towards the gas tank. The fuel line is to replace the length of line from the filter to the carburetor. You'll need to measure and cut it to length. Reconnect the anti-backfire device. Check your linkages both at the carburetor and with the lever on the dashboard. And you're basically done. I'd say that's quite an improvement. Let's give it a trial startup. You're probably going to need to crank it a bit to get fuel into the carburetor before it'll start.
So that's all there is to it, guys. If you enjoy this sort of content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And check out our store at hipastore.com, where you're going to find a lot of quality replacement parts for all your machines. We'll see you next time. Thanks.